मझे आप किसी म्यूट करवा लिए चाहिए तो ये जन माइक तले जेनटा अच्छे यहाँ टिपी देते म्यूट हो जाए
किन जगह पीपीटी
पीपीटी पीपीटी आप स्लाइड शो कले जनता चलवा कथा चलवा किंतु आपन देखी ना पारे आपंकर मुहटा इन माना देखो पिला देखा पिला एमती देखा सेमती चलवा माने पिला एंता देखा
अच्छा
किंतु आपन को खाली स्लाइड शोटा देखा
जॉइन कले ना
हाँ 16 जन अच्छा लास्ट खाली यहाँ स्टॉक स्ट्रीमिंग टा मार देबे
प्राइवेट कर दीछो ना
हम सरला पर हम कर देबे
अच्छा एचन ये रे हमर इथरे लिंक नहीं देई तो
माने हमर ग्रुप नहीं देगा सरला पर खाली ये जन ये आइकन टा मारले इटा स्टॉक स्ट्रीमिंग कर देबे
अच्छा मोर पीपीटी टा ना सुकुचे ना डा
हां हां जा कर
मैडम एक प्रोग्राम में कितने चलेगा
एक्चुअली मान को पहुंचाई इन्फॉर्म कर दवा
ई संजीवनी टी होची ना हमर टोमेटो प्रोग्राम टा
आज पचार दवा तो ताको केते दिन चलिबो
हमर ई संजीवनी
आपण को टाइम टा फांका रहउची कि कोन सब किछ अछि
फांका रहउची हमर सेकंड हाफ फर्स्ट हाफ टा रे प्रोग्राम
ठीक है मु आज तो नहीं जाउची एबे तापर मु जणे देबी 12 टा बळे कोई भी अच्छा तो स्टार्ट है गुड मॉर्निंग ऑल so today's topic is hormones of female reproductive system as shown in the figure. You all of you already know that what are the primary sex organ. The primary sex organ are your ovary and testes. Why they are called primary sex organ? Because they secrete the sex hormone. What are the sex hormone? In female it is testosterone, in female it is estrogen and progesterone. So the main function of testes and ovary is to develop the secondary sexual character as well as maintain the reproductive cycle both in male and female. So today we will deal with the hormones of the reproductive system, that is particularly in pertaining to the female reproductive system. So in this diagram you can see that there are menstrual cycle has been already taught to you. So what are the phases of menstrual cycle? Menstrual cycle consists of two cycles. One is ovarian and another one is your uterine cycle. So ovarian cycle and uterine cycle both are governed by the hormone that are secreted by the anterior pituitary and the hypothalamus. So we will go to the next slide. What are the specific learning objective for today's class? Hormones in female reproductive cycle, their mechanism of action and function of the hormone. So first, what are the hormones secreted by the anterior pituitary? Two hormones are secreted by the follicle FSH and LH, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. But anterior pituitary alone cannot secrete the hormone. It has to be stimulated by something else. What is the other stimulation? It is stimulated by the hypothalamus. So the hormonal response in female system is a interplay between two things. One is hypothalamo-pituitary a gonadal axis, that is hypothalamus interaction between the hypothalamus and the pituitary, and another one is your uterine endometrial interplay. So the hormone secreted by the pituitary anterior gonadotropin cells are present in the pituitary. The hormone secreted are of two types. One is FSH and another one is LH. Already this has been taught in the female cycle, that is the menstrual cycle. So already you know that LH surge, that corresponds to your ovulation, that is the release of the ovum which is ready for fertilization. So what is the first system? That is the hypothalamo-gonadal axis. Hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal axis, CNS. Hypothalamus is present at the base of CNS. There the medial hypothalamus that secrete hormone, that is neuroendocrine factor that released via the hypothalamus and it reaches the gonadotropin cells of the anterior pituitary. What are the nucleus that is responsible for secretion of the GnRH, that is gonadotropin releasing hormone, Two hormones are secreted from hypothalamus. One is gonadotropin releasing hormone and another one is your gonadotropin inhibitory hormone. That is the hormone that stimulates the release of gonadotropin and the hormone that inhibit the release of gonadotropin. So the medial basal eminence of the hypothalamus, where from the arcuate nucleus is present, that is responsible for the secretion of the GnRH, that is gonadotropin releasing hormone. Gonadotropin releasing hormone, releasing means it increases the release of gonadotropin from the gonadotrope cells of the anterior pituitary. So why this hormone secretion changes throughout the life? At the birth of the female, the hormone secretion is not same as 8 years of age. It is not same as puberty. While adolescent, it is also not same. It varies throughout the female reproductive cycle, starting from the birth up to the menopause. Why it varies? And where from this hormone comes? Because of the female cycle is not like male, and the puberty is present both in male and female. Puberty is the sexual maturation. So how this sexual maturation takes place? All this depends upon the hormonal pulses that occur between the hypothalamus, pituitary and the gonads. Hypothalamus at birth, the hormone secretion are not same as puberty. That is the pulses changes. Pulses means the time of release. That is, these hormones are not continuously released. These are released in a orderly fashion. Initially, the hormone release is not same as puberty. So the hormone release is GnRH, that is gonadotropin releasing hormone. This gonadotropin releasing hormone binds to the gonadotrope cells of the anterior pituitary. Mechanism of action has been not taught to you till yet, but for your information, the hormones are of two type nature. One is protein and another one is lipid. All of you know that the membrane is lipoprotein. That is, the cell membrane consists of lipoprotein. So the lipid can cross the membrane, but the protein hormone cannot cross the membrane. So it has to be act through the second messenger that will be taught in the subsequent classes. But GnRH, for your knowledge, is a protein hormone. So it goes and binds to the gonadotrope cells of the anterior pituitary. And how it is released? It is released by the neuronal connection between the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary. After binding to the anterior pituitary, it helps in release of the hormone, that is gonadotropins LH and FSH. LH means your follicle luteinizing hormone, FSH follicle stimulating hormone. It has been already taught to you in the menstrual cycle classes that Graafian follicle is the ultimate follicle or the dominant follicle that release the ovum for fertilization. And already I have told you that how out of the thousands, 100 follicle, one follicle developed into the dominant follicle because of the expression of the FSH receptors. The FSH hormone binds to the फिजियोलॉजी रा पढ़ले तो बहुत पता एबे पछरे का तापर आपडे कंप्यूटर থেকে চলেবো हां ठीक আছে কিন্তু না হলে এটা Hold on just a minute. ऑनलाइन पढ़े से पढ़े को आनंद हम ओते कोनो किछि देखि हां जे देखो
ଯଦି ଆପଣଙ୍କର ତାଙ୍କର ଏତେ ଇଚ୍ଛା ପଢ଼ିବା ପାଇଁ ଅନଲାଇନ୍ ତ go on the job make you can see people.
ବକର ମୁଁ ହେଉଛି ମୋର
ଏଇଟା କୋଉଟା ଏଇଟା କୋଉ ଆପ୍ରେ ଯାଉଛି ଆପଣ ରେକର୍ଡ କରୁଛନ୍ତି
ବେଟା ୟୁଟ୍ୟୁବ୍
ୟୁଟ୍ୟୁବରେ ବନେଇକି ଛାଡ଼ିବେ ଆଉ ସିଏ ଦେଖିବେ ଯେ ଫଟୋ ଫାଷ୍ଟ ଇୟରରେ କାହିଁକି
ମ୍ୟାଡ଼ାମ୍ ଶୁଣନ୍ତୁ ଏଇଟା ମୁଁ ଷ୍ଟପ୍ କରିଦେଉଛି ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ ବୁଝୁଛି କିଛି
ତଳେ କରିଦେବେ କିଛି ପସନ୍ଦ ନାହିଁ
ହଁ ଠିକ୍ ଅଛି
ବଟ୍ ଦିସ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଏକ୍ସଟ୍ରା ଏଫର୍ଟ ୟୁ ଶୁଡ୍ ପେ
So sorry for the interruption. So the hormone secreted is GnRH, that is LH, FSH, and the LH, FSH goes and bind to the dominant FSH receptors are expressed on the dominant follicle, that is Graafian follicle. It binds to the granulosa cell. Already I have taught you the development of the follicle, how the granulosa cell is incorporated, theca interna, theca externa. So the FSH binds to the FSH receptor on the granulosa cell and it secretes the hormone progesterone and help to secrete the female hormone, that is the estrogen and progesterone, and the luteinizing hormone that binds to the theca cell that help to release the androgen and the progesterone. These two are the positive sign. The green sign is the positive feedback and the red sign for the negative feedback. That is inhibin is a negative hormone that exert negative feedback on the anterior pituitary, and activin is another hormone secreted by the granulosa cell that secrete positive feedback. Estrogen and progesterone, as their level increases, they according to the hormone level in the plasma or serum, they exert negative or positive feedback. This estrogen to anterior pituitary is your long short loop, whereas estrogen inhibiting or your positive doing positive feedback on CNS and hypothalamus is your long loop inhibition or excitation. So these are the extra two hormones secreted by the granulosa cell under the influence of FSH, under the influence of FSH through the granulosa cell. These are inhibin and activin. Inhibin is a inhibitory hormone that inhibit anterior pituitary to secrete further FSH, and activin stimulate the anterior pituitary. So this is the diagram showing the theca cell and the your progesterone secretion. All of you know from the female cycle that progesterone, it is secreted from the corpus luteum, and corpus luteum is formed from the after the release of the ovum from the Graafian follicle. So the theca cell express receptor for LDL. LDL is incorporated inside the theca cell, then converted into cholesterol, then cholesterol into pregnenolone into progesterone into 17 alpha OH progesterone, androstenediol and testosterone. So the testosterone, you remember one thing here, that the theca cell produce progesterone as well as testosterone. So the androstenediol and the progesterone enters into the granulosa cell. The granulosa cell, see, theca cell does not secrete any hormone. So the granulosa cell also express the LDL receptor. Here also LDL is internalized and it is progesterone is being formed. The progesterone and the androstenediol is converted into the testosterone and estrogen with the help of the enzyme aromatase. So aromatase is the enzyme that convert androstenediol to estrogen and estriol three forms of estrogen exist. So here is the clear picture how the FSH binds to the FSH receptor on the granulosa cell. Then there is internalization of expression. This increases the expression of the LH receptor. There is internalization of the this increases the expression of the LH receptor. You can see LDL receptors are present over the theca cell. LDL is internalized, that is LDL receptor mediated uptake is there. Then expression, it increases the expression of steroidogenic enzymes. Cholesterol is converted into pregnenolone, pregnenolone into progesterone, progesterone into 17 alpha progesterone, androstenediol and testosterone. The androstenediol is again enter into the androstenediol. As it is a steroid, it can enter into the granulosa cell, so it is converted into estrone and estradiol. Androstenediol can be converted into estrone directly, and by with the help of 17 beta HST it is converted into testosterone, and the testosterone can be converted into estradiol. Estradiol is the main circulating hormone. So this is the steroidogenic pathway in the corpus luteum. Corpus luteum express LH receptor. There is internalization of the cholesterol, then stimulation of steroidogenesis. Androstenediol is formed in the corpus luteum, then it is converted into again the same pathway into estradiol that comes into the blood circulation. So this is the schematic representation, and this is how the cholesterol is converted into estrone, estradiol and estriol. Three types of estrogen exist, and with the help of the enzyme aromatase it is converted into estrone, estradiol and estriol. All of you can see that first progesterone is formed and androstenediol is formed, but not directly estrogen. There is peripheral conversion of the androstenediol and the testosterone into estrogen with the help of the enzyme aromatase, and it is converted into three types of estrogen: estrone, estradiol and estriol. Estradiol is the main circulating estrogen. This is the diagram showing the granulosa cell and theca cells in the two phases of the menstrual cycle. So you can see that the theca internal cell, again the same diagram. Then these are the receptor expressed, that is the in both adrenal and ovary secrete estrogen, where with the help of peripheral progesterone and androstenediol, with the help of peripheral conversion with the help of enzyme aromatase it is converted into estrone, estradiol, and the estrogen act on the target tissue to carry out various physiological function. First function of estrogen is to carry out the female reproductive development, that is the development of secondary sexual character, and carry out the female reproductive cycle. Another functions, that is the physiological and pathological, it act on the brain, breast, skin, blood vessel, and pathological if the estrogen receptor expression there is a dysregulation in the estrogen receptor expression, then in pathological condition it can give rise to breast cancer and endometriosis. So this is the 24-hour production rate of sex steroid in hormone in different stages of menstrual cycle: early follicular, pre-ovulatory and mid-luteal phases. Progesterone early follicular phase, you can see the level is 1, and the pre-ovulatory it is 4, and mid-luteal 25. So you can see the level of progesterone, because as corpus luteum produce progesterone, so in the luteal phase the progesterone is highest. Androstenediol, you can see that in pre-ovulatory phase it is highest, and estradiol it is highest in the pre-ovulatory phase at FSH peaks in the pre-ovulatory phase. And already I have told you there are two peaks for estrogen, one is before ovulation and another one in the mid-luteal phase. So both estrogen and progesterone level peaks in the mid-luteal phase. So this is the diagram showing the steroidogenesis, that is cholesterol is converted into pregnenolone, pregnenolone into progesterone, 17 hydroxy pregnenolone, dihydroxy epiandrosterone, androstenediol, testosterone, and 17 beta estriol. Testosterone is converted in the granulosa cell with the help of the enzyme aromatase into estriol. So these are the phases, phase wise in hormone level already I have told. So what are the functions of the hormone? LH and FSH stimulate the following functions in the ovary, that is steroidogenesis in ovarian follicle and corpus luteum. Already you know from the female reproductive cycle how LH and FSH stimulate the steroidogenesis, follicular development beyond the antral stage. Then already I have shown you the follicles, that is the pre-antral follicle, antral follicle, Graafian follicle, and ovulation. You know that LH surge corresponds to the ovulation before 24 to 36 hour ovulation. LH surge occur, and lutealization, that is formation and maintenance of the corpus luteum. Negative and positive feedback control is under estrogen and progesterone. What is the actions of estrogen? It has both positive and negative feedback. Already I have shown you in the first diagram that estrogen has got positive as well as negative feedback on the FSH and LH secretion. Causes maturation and maintenance of fallopian tube, uterus, cervix and vagina. Causes development of female secondary sex character at puberty. Causes development of breast, upregulation of estrogen, LH and progesterone receptor. Causes proliferation and development of the granulosa cell. Already all of this I have taught you in that class. Lowers the uterine threshold for contractile stimulus during pregnancy. Pregnancy is another separate class for you, and prolactin is also, lactation is also another separate class for you. Estrogen also stimulate the prolactin secretion. What is the actions of progesterone? Has a negative feedback on FSH and LH secretion during luteal phases, because after that if pregnancy occur then the corpus luteum continue producing progesterone, but if pregnancy doesn't occur then there is release of the hormone and there will be withdrawal of the hormone and menstruation occur. Maintains the secretory activity of uterus during luteal phase, maintains the pregnancy, raises the uterine threshold to contractile stimulus during pregnancy, participate in development of breast. So the effect on, what are the effect of estrogen? Already I have told, effect on bone, effect on metabolism, that is protein and fat, water and electrolyte balance, effect on central nervous system, effect on vasculature, effect on skin. So estrogen act on the osteocytes to decrease the apoptosis and decrease activation of bone remodeling. It acts on the osteoblast cell to decrease the apoptosis, oxidative stress and maintenance of bone formation, and osteoclast cell to increase the apoptosis and rank induce differentiation, so that there is decreased bone reabsorption. Ultimately it help in the bone growth and help in the growth and development of the female. Effect on protein, it has got positive effect on anabolic effect on fat and protein metabolism, that is increases the deposition of protein, causes positive nitrogen balance and increases the promote the growth of the female, and causes female deposition of fat in the subcutaneous tissue, breast and thigh, so that it help in the female sexual development. It causes salt and water retention in the body, and it can also cause premenstrual tension. Responsible for estrous behavior and increases the libido, that is it helps in the emotional development of the female, it helps in the development of the behavior and the libido of the female. Then vasculature, it acts as a vasodilator and anti-vasoconstrictor effect. Effect on skin, make the skin soft and more vascular, make sebaceous gland secretion, so that the synthetic estrogen can be also used as a part of treatment. Then what are the therapeutic uses of estrogen? Menopausal symptom, postmenopausal osteoporosis, atherosclerosis, contraceptive with progesterone. Side effect, it may, if there is a dysregulation in the estrogen balance, it may give rise to uterine and breast cancer. So what are the functions of progesterone, it has got reproductive action, that is act on the endometrium, responsible for this maintenance of the secretory phase and preparation of endometrium to receive the zygote. Already this has been taught in the female sexual cycle, that how corpus luteum secrete progesterone, and progesterone is responsible for maintenance of the endometrium to receive zygote. It helps in the development of the blood vessel, new angiogenesis, increases the thickness of the endometrium so that it can receive the zygote and maintain the zygote. Uterine motility, decreases the uterine motility so that there is maintenance of pregnancy. Endocervix, it helps in the cervical secretion to make the cervical secretion thick and viscid, and fawning pattern disappear so that the pregnancy can be maintained. The whole of the effort by the estrogen progesterone is to maintain the pregnancy. Then vagina, it thickened the epithelium, cornified and infiltrated with leukocytes. Fallopian tube increases the epithelial secretion rich in nutritive material, then causes lobular and alveolar growth of the breast during pregnancy. It is all these are due to maintain the pregnancy. So this is all about your female hormone. This diagram is important for you, and I have already told that in female sexual cycle, if you will get a question on this diagram, how the positive and negative feedback takes place. So the hormonal interaction in female reproductive cycle is a interplay between two things. One is your hypothalamo-pituitary gonadal axis and the uterine endometrial cycle. So the hormones are secreted from the arcuate nucleus and the medial basal eminence of the hypothalamus through neural secretory through the neurons. It comes to the hormone released are of two types, GnRH. So the GnRH is gonadotropin releasing hormone. It acts on the gonadotrope cells of the anterior pituitary. Then it acts the gonadotrope cells secrete two types of hormone. One is LH, that is the luteinizing hormone, and another one is FSH. LH act on the theca cells of the Graafian follicle to secrete progesterone, and FSH act on the granulosa cell to secrete progesterone as well as estrogen. And how estrogen is secreted, already I have told, it is not secreted directly. The theca cell which produce progesterone is converted into androstenediol and testosterone, that is again converted by the enzyme present in the granulosa cell aromatase into estrogen. Three types of estrogen exist, E1, E2 and E3, out of which estradiol is the most potent and most common circulatory form. The estrogen, already I have told the functions of estrogen. Another two hormones are secreted by the granulosa cell, that is the inhibin and activin. Activin exert positive effect, whereas inhibin exert negative effect on the anterior pituitary. So already functions of estrogen, you know, estrogen is to develop the Graafian follicle, the follicle, primordial follicle into Graafian follicle, so that there is release of the ovum and fertilization can take place. Again after that also there is a second mid-luteal peak for estrogen to maintain the pregnancy, and another is progesterone. Progesterone is secreted from the corpus luteum. Corpus luteum, already you know that it is for maintenance of pregnancy, taught in very detailed in your female reproductive cycle. So this is along with the female reproductive cycle. Please go through this chapter. Thank you.